смотрите, ребят, Positive Hack Days — это такое место для простых, неформатных разговоров, вот, где мы говорим спокойно, непринужденно, не взвешивая каждое слово.
Well, guys, this is the room for a very informal conversation. We're not trying to weigh every word. What I'd like to have this conversation to be about is to continue the first conversation when regulators and panelists were saying of how a company's management is evaluating InfoSec. I brought to the stage like alien guys. They're sort of like aliens. I mean, those guys are actually heads of their companies. To have this conversation and for you to see and have the first hand account of how senior management is thinking about information security. And I believe that this is a very important and good topic for us to be able to leave this place with a better understanding of how they think. Because as usually, when we discuss information security and things related, the InfoSec guys and officers, they say, we are not heard, we are not seen by the top brass and the top management of the company. And it looks like for the senior management of the company, those InfoSec guys like aliens, they do not speak the same language. And today we would like to bring them together, and for many times I've shared this before. I want to say it again. It's a story about myself, of how my whole life I've been working in the InfoSec business. When I began to provide security for my own company, I became like a buyer and a client. And I've realized that I, as the senior manager of the company, I do not understand. Yes, I can usually formulate and say what I want, like what I want from the company's finances, what I want from, you name, from the developers, from the programmers. But when we speak about InfoSec, it was a very challenge. It's like, okay, we want to buy something and implement it, but why? What do you want to see? Why do you need it? So let's now bring up all these topics, and maybe my first question I would like to ask. Well, first of all, let me introduce our panelists. And who do we have? Andrei Kalinchuk. He is from the digital subsoil usage. I mean, all these like subsoil. Andrei is digitizing them and keeping the information and managing all this stuff. Okay. Pavel Chashin. Pavel Chashin, who is he? He is from the Roslesinform, or Russian Forestry Agency. I mean, all our forests, he's collecting all the information and processing this information. Next is Alexander Chanikov. He is a deputy CEO of the Rushydro Corporation, and Boris Demidov, Sergei Demidov. One of his hats, he is the director of operational risks of the Moscow Exchange, and he is also the head of a company which is providing communication, telecom. So one of his hats is like a CEO, and he's listening to the InfoSec officers. And in some cases, in some roles, he is himself an information security officer. So my first question to the panelists is, please tell me, guys, you are the managers. You have many topics you are discussing in your company. How about information security? Is that like a top 5 topics which you're discussing, or maybe your KPIs which you are pursuing?
Слышно? Да. Всем добрый день.
Check. Hi, everyone.
Скажу так, можно там...
What I want to say is that, yes, I could speak about my whole life and like before, before certain data in the last year and after certain days in the last year. As of today, I am the deputy who is supervising the fuel complex and IT and InfoSec business line. InfoSec, I would say, is like ranking number 2 among my priorities. You guys may be looking at different organizations, some in banks, some in IT companies, and you name it. And since we are the power generation company, to make sure that our industry would be working fine, we need always to supply fuel. So the top priority for us is this very goal. I mean, the production. I think the same is the case with you. Whatever people say to you in manufacturing companies, in the utility companies, it's about providing uninterrupted supply of energy. But number two is InfoSec. InfoSec is super important to our company, but I also want to say that one big contributing factor, number one, would be regulatory landscape by the Russian government, because we are like a pro-government kind of supervised company. We have a lot of directives which obligate us to move in this direction in our finances, in our security and safety and security. And I would say the second thing is that the Russian government, in addition to those directives and those ideas, they pay very close attention in interest to this whole topic. And in this year 2023, we've had like several meetings with the senior management of the company that were behind the scenes maybe, and we've been speaking about that. That means that this topic is like super important for them, and everybody knows that this is the national priority. It's like having an accountant in your company. It's a must. Maybe in smaller companies they do not pay too much attention to the InfoSec, but speaking about the big industrial companies, it's a very like a top priority. And now people have a totally different attitude to the information security, and we, all of us, can actually ask for budgets, and we can substantiate our requests for the budgets. It is not like just trying to scare people. We've seen so many incidents in the last year and so on. Yes, after certain events, we've had more incidents, and now many companies can say it. I will not give you the numbers, but we do notice it, and we manage this kind of onslaught of attacks. What I'm trying to say that it is becoming like a public understanding, and if this trend is to continue, if it is to continue with the same rate and speed and scope, all of us are definitely going to have the good domestic software and technology products, which will be helping us to fend off these attacks. Thank you. It looks like InfoSec is your second priority. Pavel, how about your company? It's a bit more difficult because I'm the CEO of my company, and I cannot give you just numbers, because all five or six priorities are equally important. I mean, finances and overall strategy and manufacturing, IT, and so on. Yes, I grew up in IT business, and I became the CEO of my company. I've heard the advice for average top to become the CEO of the company. Like the guys in the previous panel, they were providing this kind of suggestion. You do understand why top brass sometimes does not understand you as the InfoSec officer. Information security is equally important for me as the production. Yes, production provides money, cash flow, and on, you name it. But I'm looking at the overall company's digital maturity. In my previous job, we were very mature. Our forestry company, just can you guess? Do we know everything about the forests of Russia? Can you guess if we are like mature? Mature. Yes. Yes, still we have the like a paper document circulation. We don't have the e-document circulation, and we are making the very first steps in our digital maturity. So of course, they're speaking about the InfoSec and its role in this development. It's making like the first strides. The only difference is that our heads of companies are quite up to date. They know that when you build IT infrastructure, the data infrastructure, you take InfoSec as the factor. Well, 10 years ago, there was no budget for the InfoSec and people were not paying a lot of attention. They were just buying entire virus. This was the thinking of the top management. Now they have a different perspective. So speaking about the budgets, I do not have a lot of financing for the information safety and security because I do not have certain points when I have to protect my system from global threats. So the InfoSec is mainly about defending my administrative capabilities, but the federal systems is in the stage of its creation. Anyway, it is important, and in view of the current global trends, I believe it's one of the most important things ever. Again, my idea is like some 3 years ago, me and my colleagues were trying to convince me that companies' managements couldn't care less about InfoSec. Yes, I've known many people who couldn't care less about information security. But I think it's a trend. It is a trend that we can see more interest from the part of the top management of the companies. Maybe it's because of the current times, some kind of maturity or level of digitalization and so on. Sergey, I want to ask you, Moscow Exchange used to be like a flagship company for digitalization, but can you give me an honest question? What is the management of the Moscow Exchange is thinking about security? Are you guys spending your money? Are you spending your resources? Let me add a fuel to the fire. We've had Maksud Shadai for the previous session. What I want to say is that we unfortunately did not have like a fundamental paradigm shift. Everybody's saying we have the business and we have InfoSec. All previously they would come and ask, money, but now I know why we need all these things. But I'm not completely sure. Here at the Moscow Exchange, we have a different culture, and oftentimes, question we ask to ourselves: can we manage the weather? What do I mean? I mean that we sometimes are setting goals which does not have any solution in the moment. Like we did not have a carbon units market. We came to Quest, but actually this market is very attractive. Economically, in terms of governmental building, it looks like the government is paying attention to that. We've created this market, we've built legislation, and we're still in the process. In the InfoBiz, we have the same situation. We are building it. And this kind of empathy by the senior management, where empathy is like it behind. It is wrong to ask my boss, like, do you care about InfoSec or do you not? But probably I have to say, did we create information security within our company? Have we done it? A lot on the business point, like, okay, we have business here and InfoSec here on the side. No, InfoSec is an integral part of the product, and products could be different. In some products, InfoSec should be like, wow, we have organized a trading system. And if the system is idle for an hour, that's a major problem. And we have like a try technology, and we allow quite a high tolerance to the InfoSec. We can try to understand that, okay, like nothing bad happens, and then the system is discarded. We are trying to manage it, and we're attempting to systematize work of our management in such a way so that they would see InfoSec as simply one of the components of the product, because they are business people. They are selling a product. And all these conversations about, the cost and do we need this kind of amazing IT gimmicks and stuff, it becomes very utility conversation. You do not have to think about how to sell it. We define the structure of the product. We say InfoSec is just a piece of the pie. It's not a try technology anyway, but you can do it like that. we have limitations, it costs this, in the total margin it will be Y, and the profit will be Z, that's the whole conversation. Why am I saying all that? Some of you are saying that, we have this and that means that we have a next step. Next step when actual companies will change their mind. It is not a question to the management bodies, but it's a question to their security situation. We have to ask our colleagues also to ask this question: what do they think about security? Are they trying to grow into that, or they're fine with the status quo? Andrei, I want to ask you: can you please tell me, or I can continue? I just, thought that what the guys were saying, that actually I would have like a downward trend in my speech, but now it looks like we have an upward trend, light at the end of the tunnel. As a matter of fact, speaking about the import substitution, is that important or not? What companies think about import substitution? This would be a role model, and they have the same attitude with cyberbase, although it is evolving. Well, what do you think about the import substitution? It's like a formal necessity. Government is playing this big game and sort of like saying that we need some import substitution. Look at the deputies in the companies. Deputy CEO, usually deputy CEO in a public-run company, in a government company, they are assigned with stuff like that, and they're given some responsibilities. Yeah, actually, talking about import substitution, we're not going to dive deep into this topic, but anyway, what I want to say is that I think it is not an end in itself. We have to be more protected. Like we have a checkpoint. We have a box to check. Like the guys are telling me and say, let's, change a checkpoint. Like, why? Why do you guys want to do it? It's on one hand. You're not a government company. You do not have this kind of KPI. But one will say that, okay, you see, positive technology is one of the biggest centers in Russia. And when I decide that we need it, and then, of course, when the guys are saying, we don't have a checkpoint, well, guys, install whatever you want. It's a whole different case. It's a whole different story. That's a good point, actually, that you've touched upon. For many years, or compliance or InfoSec used to be like a formal compliance in Russia. Okay, we gotta have the InfoSec because, it's been imposed on us by the government and blah, blah, blah. But now, what is an outcome for you? Like a tangible outcome. If you're a manager, what would be those expected outcome for which the company is willing to pay money? You know what I mean? What is your language? Like, what should the InfoSec officer should come to you to be able to convince you? Like a CISO. Okay, guys, I'm like providing the golden pill. For me, if my boss is saying that, okay, this product which we're doing, it's matching our criteria, it's matching our business. You've mentioned about the import substitution. My import substitution, I'm trying to manage whether I'm going to different companies and or governmental agencies and trying to say that if we have the external regulation with the deadlines, it's evil for us. We're not your typical company. We're not a state-run company, and that's why we are hurt in these circles. Why am I doing that? Because you could think that I have a great drivers to spend several billions on some good gimmicks, some good, things which supposedly will make me safe. No, it's a balance between the quality of the product and expectation, because for me, import substitution is an additional cost. At the same time, I'm not increasing the quality of my product. I'm not making it what it should be. So for me, this kind of management of the company, management of the quality, and management by my management, it's part of the same strategy. This is the example I want to give you. About 1 year ago, we thought, okay, let's play this game, let's play this game of technological sovereignty or independence. You know, IT guys, let's just imagine that internet is gone and we want to build our products. And the guys, you know, said in a month, okay, we are ready for this kind of negative scenario. We're making this assembly. And we're just, you know, cutting off the internet. And their, you know, assembly did not work. Go back and do it. Well, the third time, they were successful. They were successful with their kind of, you know, anti-internet blocking kind of situation. How can we understand? What is expected result? What do you see? Because people usually take, people say stuff, and how can I understand that this has given us a result? The system is working, and you can give them 10 million or a billion. Well, how do you understand that I have my desired outcome? I'm also supervising the risk department in my company. And in this sense, the risk officers, they have the key risk indicators. Let me just switch to the simple conversation, you know. This kind of strategy, when we talk about the quality of the product, and part of this quality is level the InfoSec, and then we continue like a tactical level. The tactical level will be the toolbox, and one of these elements would be risk analysis, enabling us to understand where we have the risk emergence, which potentially may have a negative impact on the final product. And speaking about these risks, on the bottom we have like a pen test tools, we have like a code review, and safe coding. But in the middle, this would be like a set of metrics, and these metrics, we try to make them understandable for the senior management and different kind of like bodies in our company. Speaking about these metrics, we have synthetic metrics and also quite obvious threat metrics. I mean, we have a product and we have a certain cost, like certain number of rubles of infobase, and now these X's or expenses for the infobase we have to increase because we have to substitute for the Western technologies. And I'm selecting some alternative tech and choosing the one which would be more efficient for me. And then I check that in terms of these kind of low-level pen test, code review type of tools, I have some replaced technology. It has the same quality as the previous technology which has been replaced. And to make it easier on the company's management to understand this, I'm identifying this whole chain. I'm saying, guys, okay guys, number one, because the management of the company speaks the language of money. I have X product and this tag used to cost Y, and now they have a set of different technologies. I compare them and I choose the most effective in terms of cost, but at the same time, all the lower metrics which this management does not understand, they are the same. Well, when these kind of things were brought to me, I had a feeling that I was being deceived. People come to me and they give me some kind of sheet of paper, some TCO, sorry guys, I've lost the train of thought right in the middle of your conversation. Can I give you just a real-life example? It is not related to IT or InfoSec. There was a company and they were doing like a dairy products and dairy production. It's not a small company, it's a Russian company. And, you know, like a technology officer came to the CEO and he said, okay, you know, we cannot do this. And then he was asked, what are your risks? What are the risks if this will be discovered? He said, well, we'll have to pay a fine. Okay. Risks are not that big, you know, we'll just have to pay fine. I want to say that yes, as a CEO, whenever I'm speaking with my security officer, he's saying to me, we have so much money. And again, the public sector is limited in finances. And this is why we don't have much money, tons of money. So you have to understand like clear decisions what we have to defend. Going back to digital security, we have these kind of products. What will happen? What are our options? you know, like some events we cannot afford. What will happen? Okay, we're gonna die. Then we spend money. Okay, let's move on paper. Let's do something. We'll have time, and we are going to recover because we don't have any money for the information security. And this kind of dialogue, speaking in plain kind of lay terms, even if this kind of CEO who used to be the information security officer, he does not speak the IT language. They measure risks differently, like being imprisoned, paying fines, and things like that. So, if the CISO officer is able to carry across information, it is great. But again, it's a matter of trust. You're speaking about relationships between people. It's a trust from the top manager. If you have one mistake, okay, we're fine with it. But if you make repetitive mistakes, we're going to get you. But I think these kind of intolerable events, non-tolerable events. Again, I want to share my experience and something from my experience. Whenever the guys would come to us and say, "Okay, let's do the infosec for the positive technologies that would bring some money," and we would agree, "Okay, let's formulate our fears. What am I afraid of? What I'm trying to protect myself from?" I'm waking up in the morning and there's like a article in the paper, positive technologies have this or that, and then I am willing to give money. And we begin to think, what are those possible events in positive technologies as a software developer? Like, what could give us a lot of trouble? First, we build the list of 15 items, and then we realize that most of them, they were not too bad. Let's say our source code will be stolen. Let's say I wake up and the code of the positive technologies is been stolen. What will competition do? We cannot understand what to do with this code, ourselves, not even to mention our competition. Microsoft had its code stolen. It is not something to be afraid of. But if people got into our source code and they installed a backdoor, and this backdoor ended up with our clients, and the clients made a mess, nationwide, this is not very nice. Or if we had a leak of confidential information, I cannot understand. What kind of information? What kind of a leak? Let's say our database with our clients is going to be leaked. This is our country and these are our clients. Fine. So what? But if, let's say, just if, data about audit reports will be leaked, yeah, that's painful. So you have to formulate this kind of non-tolerable events. It's an art of a security officer. A CISO guy has to be able to help a business to formulate what they are concerned about. In one example from the positive technologies, we have given the 3x kind of budget to defend, to be protected from this kind of non-tolerable events, instead of kind of general infosec. Oh, guys, just give us money for infosec and that's it. Let's try to discuss it. Just how realistic it may be to formulate this kind of possible outcome of non-tolerable events. Maybe you can say it differently, because this kind of non-tolerable event is just one of the possible avenue for your dialogue between the CISO officer and the manager of the company, top manager. What do you think, guys? Yes, boys, you've had a question, what is an outcome? You begin speaking about that, and I just want to catch up on this thought, and then I'll continue. I believe that some of us are supervising the InfoSec, and when you report to your higher-ups, to upstairs, we're saying that, so many times a week, so many times a month, we've had so many investigations and so many incidents. We decided that we got tired of it, because every day we have tens of thousands of incidents. So what? So what? When we try to scare each other before, the first thing we have to do, quit scaring one another. It's irritating but not motivating. Next, what is an outcome? it was a good example about the weather, but indeed, we have a lot of companies or assets on the far east of Russia, and monthly typhoon is coming to the far east of Russia. We have some very, very bad weather conditions, and many thousands of people in the minus 40 Celsius, they are left without electricity. Just imagine what it would feel like. And we know that it's going to happen every year.
Никак не можем стопроцентно, но мы точно знаем, что нужно сделать.
Be every year. We can't really protect ourselves. I like this weather example. It's pretty vivid. We know that we have generators that we may turn on if some of the settlements will be out of electricity. We know how to do it. We know how to engage special forces for this. But from the point of view of information security, that's a bit different. So back to the outcome. And the outcome for all of us, when everything is working, and when it's not when somebody is calling you and telling you that something happened, you can't really protect yourself from that. But let's separate those results, external and internal ones. I would like to talk about the internal result, because I think the literacy of our users and our colleagues, this is 99% of the internal security success, because the internal literacy and internal perpetrator, they generate most of the risks. It's just the illiteracy of the user that is risky. So we work with this as an organization. We run special cyber trainings and run special cyber exercises. We have more than 60,000 people in our company. Right now, there are different stages of the user. So in order to get the result and to have a positive result, we need to work with the internal perpetrator. About the external perpetrators, this is like weather. You can't really do much about it. So there are companies in the market like your company, and they're developing their areas. That's a great thing that you have here on standoff. So you can see, is it in the game? So all those trials and errors you can use later to develop your products. I think it's just great, and I think it should be developed more and should be supported. And we do a similar thing in our company. Then on the external part, we will just rely on you that you'll help us. No matter how educated we are. And the last thing to say, all of us, we have lots of internal instructions, regulations, and policies. It's another problem. You may put it on account of literacy or lack of desire of the common users. So it's already spelled out how to do it. I'm sure that you have different reports and you monitor what's happening, how many tolerable events could be, but it's kind of stupid, people, they just doing silly things and taking risks. So they ask, for example, the vendor to log in using their password and login, and then this person kind of forgot about it. So and that employee already left and lives in a different country, and many other things like that. So the result is when everything is operating properly, but we need to work with the internal factors, with our specialists, with everybody. And we are the security. That's a good thought.
Pavel, что хотел сказать, нет?
Pavel, would you like to say something? I would like to join that part, because actually those errors, they're very elementary. And here we're talking about the management's attitude and how the managers work with the security specialist. For example, a specialist comes to me and say, give me money for this and for that, and they kind of prove that this is important and this event is non-tolerable. So they bought the software and nobody uses the software. Then, all of a sudden, we have an incident. It's like we bought it, so what's going on? And people talk about it a lot, so why it's not working? So in what I see, the process is going, so they bring software to the organization, but we need to involve different employees of the company. When I see that my security officer is not just trying to get money from the managers, and his mission is to stay in the organization for 2 years, but this security officer is really working, even where he doesn't have enough funding, he comes up with training courses for the employees and explaining to the employees what is cybersecurity. I'm talking about drivers or cleaning ladies, but I'm talking about those who are working with information systems. So this is how you build trust between the manager, general manager, and security officer. But what mistakes happen, so we were hacked and they hack us all the time. So what would a security officer do that you fire them? Well, I never fire them with the first mistake. Because first of all, we all make mistakes.
But I
need to see what lessons the security officer learned and what changed, and only after that I make a decision. If nothing happens, then you don't even have to wait for the next incident. See why I'm saying this? In my own experience, in the organization, security officers, they're afraid of talking about real problems they have. They understand what the holes in the systems are. They have their own incidents. They're not talking about it. They're not telling about it. It's not telling the CEO about it. The idea is, I'm responsible since I took the money from the management, and all of a sudden I have the incident. And for me, it's a kind of red flag for development of the industry. So when people don't talk about what's happening in the company, that's terrible, because I had some horrible situations in my company. I saw it many times when people don't talk. They're afraid of doing it.
Как построить вот этот климат того, чтобы у безопасника не было боязни?
How to create this environment in the company so that the security officer wouldn't be afraid of escalating the problem to the management?
Бояться это делать.
What should they do to stop being afraid of it? There are different opinions on that, but what I don't like the word trust. So everything is built on trust, but when people talk about the level of their immersion in the cybersecurity topic, so it turns out that the CEOs, they have to kind of learn themselves and see what's going on there themselves. So this complex scheme that I was trying to talk about, and we lost half our audience about this. Yes, we are victims of this complex schemes. We're trying to build a system that would be independent on a human being. So in this sense, we're trying to come up with some metrics that would show so that the security officer wouldn't be the pivotal point. So we fire them and the system wouldn't collapse. So the level of my responsibility is important. We have 4 trillion rubles turnover a day, and everything can go sideways, and all this money will go down the drains. So this system is not supposed to be built on trust of my expertise. So what happened, if I got injured and I'm in the hospital now, and so all this money is gone. So I don't want the management to think that, we have this pivotal guy, this Demidov guy, who is gone, and then the whole system collapses. So I'm not going to talk about the scheme again. But the scheme is actually an attempt to build this system of balances. So we have supervising board, and we tell them what the level of risk is, and we understand that we understand what may be lost during the business, but we cannot be on certain number. So, and there are also some events that we can tolerate. So it's not 100% reliability of the system. It doesn't exist simply. And for us, the measurement of my KPI is that I did not go beyond the level of permissible tolerance. Okay, let's simplify the situation. You say that tomorrow a company comes to you, they audit your company, and they show that you can be hacked and you will lose all your trillions. So will you be okay to go to your management or to tell them about it? So yes, regularly happens. And the management wouldn't be torturing you and saying, so Sergey, we give you so much money, and still there is this thing that can happen. So you can read press about it. So we have these black swans coming to us, and we sometimes lose money that are going beyond the tolerable level. But my work is measured by how I found the solution for the problem. So if after such a black swan, first I responded properly, and whitening the situation, this is the correcting the situation. So we found the issue, it's a serious issue, so I escalated the problem issue to, I explained it to the management. So then I come up with short-term and long-term measurements and measures. So it's in the system. So we have our policies where it's spelled out. So there is an event that is beyond the tolerable level. So immediately everybody talks, the board, the chairman and everybody. So within 10 years, 10 days, we have this internal investigation. We decide what should be done short-term and long-term. We check what's going on. But see, maybe it's not only about you. So what is the secret here? What I stand for, that in majority of organizations, the security officers, they're afraid of escalating the issue to the management. It's not only about security, it's just, it's about the whole model. I said that once, yes, and in the documents we have this. The second mistake is not tolerable. So the question is not about the security, it's all about culture. So the state, they launched this challenge for the gas industry, so they would understand it differently. So they should understand people who deal with information security and IT differently. So the process is going. I would say it's a thaw in a sense. This is expectations management. This is how we call it. When a person is trying to build a system, we build the risk management system and expectation management system. And in our initiative, we went to our supervision board and we said to them, so there are events like this with these consequences, and there are events like that with lower consequences. So few of them may happen a year and they can hack us. So and they hack us somewhere in the periphery, so to speak. It happens, but it's not that too horrible. So we can manage this, and we show them how many events like that happen. We tell them about it. Sometimes they're angry about it, and they say, how could you do this? So infrastructure of the financial market, so nothing's supposed to happen to you. But then they begin to understand that besides the infrastructure is like this, we have different businesses, we develop those businesses, and we're not trying to prohibit everything. So that's why managing expectations, when we don't understand what's going to happen and what we're going to do when something happens. So this allows us to actually move forward and properly respond.
Мы как тут недавно в позитиве обсуждали нашу некую в целом модель корпоративного управления.
In our company, we were discussing the corporate management model that we have. And probably we have certain KPIs. And the main point is, if there is a person, and the person is willing to do things and we trust the person
говорит про результат, который нам понятен,
and they're
да,
passionate about what they do and they
идет в
talk
это
about the result that we
направление,
understand
то
and the person moves
пускай
towards the
идет,
direction,
да.
then let them go.
Потому что часто
Let
мы
them do it.
обвешиваем эту ситуацию
Because
KPI-ами и теряем вот
sometimes
эту вот
we put so many
человечность, а в бизнесе
KPIs
это
on this
очень
person
важно.
and we kind of
Ну,
lose
что
this
у него
humanity
тянет,
there.
он
So in
тянет, да.
business it's very important.
Вот как вам кажется, вот
So
можете
what
вы
do you
назвать
think?
условно там 2-3 там качества безопасника,
Could you name like 2,
вот
3
которые вам
qualities
ну,
of a
кажутся
security
наиболее
officer
важными
that you
вообще?
think
Вот что
are
самое
the most
важное?
important
Вот там,
ones? What
он
is
может
the
быть
most
там,
important
ну, там,
thing?
не знаю, там, понятно, там, экспертом, он может быть инициативным,
The person
он
can
может
be
быть, он может понимать
has good expertise, can be
бизнес, он может
proactive, they may
работать с
understand the business
симуляторами,
very
он
well,
может
they work very well with
не
simulators,
знаю, вести команду за собой, ну что-то еще.
very
Вот
good leader.
что? Ведь,
What
условно
else?
говоря, когда ты берешь на работу там,
When you hire
продавца и финансиста, да,
a salesperson
по типу
or
людей
a
ведь разные люди.
financier,
Да? Инициативный
so
финансист,
they're
ну, часто
different
это странно
people.
звучит,
So
да? А
when you have a
скрупулезный
proactive
сейл,
financial
тоже
expert,
странноватая
so
история,
that
да? Вот с точки
sounds
зрения
strange,
безопасника, вот
and
как вам кажется?
very diligent salesman also kind of sounds strange. Well,
Мы
first of
говорим
all,
об инфобезе, поэтому ответственность.
so we're talking
Причем
about
в
info
базовой
security, so
комплектации
that's why
ответственность с самого рождения. Потому
responsibility,
что вот когда у тебя безопасник там
very high sense of
экстраверт,
responsibility.
он там фантазер и так далее.
When you have this
Поехали, ну,
extrovert in your
страшно
company
становится
and who is
сразу,
like a
честно
show-off, and
сразу,
immediately
что он там
you
нафантазирует,
feel
а после
scared.
того,
So
если
what this
он
guy is going
уйдет,
to
что он
fantasize,
оставит за
and
собой в
after he
организации,
leaves,
ну,
what's
наверное,
going to
все
be
об этом
left in the
думают.
company?
Поэтому это, наверное, самое
So that's why
главное.
I
Второе,
think
это
that's
там
most important.
максимально аналитический
Responsibility,
склад
then
ума, очень важно.
very
Почему? Потому
analytical
что вот
set of
меня, например,
mind.
организация там больше всего знает о всех бизнес-процессах. Я там не говорю про топов, да, там зам руководителей.
In my
Это
organization,
HR,
they need to
кадры.
know all the
Почему
processes. This
важно?
HR
От моих решений, что происходит
officer.
там с людьми в целом,
So
да,
it's very
как их
important what's
штормит,
going
как они
on in
увольняются,
this
не
area.
увольняются,
So
либо
what
наоборот.
happens
И Б,
when I make
безопасность,
my
потому
decisions?
что
So I
мы
need to know. And
сейчас
B,
живем, в
this is
принципе, в
security
цифровом
because
обществе,
we
и
live in a
появляются
digital
новые и новые
society.
продукты, и вот даже
We
недавно
have
схватил там своего безопасника
more and
замечание.
more new
Говорит, ты тут
products.
сидел, тут
I heard
обсуждал, собрал
something
тут
from
кучу
my
народу
security
о новом
officer. He
софте,
said
а
that
меня
you
там
were
не было.
discussing something about the new software and you
Ошибка,
didn't invite
действительно
me to see
ошибка,
that. So
потому
it was a
что
mistake,
и
so I didn't invite
безопасник
them
должен в аналитике вот этих всех
to be in
процессов
that meeting. So,
присутствовать и уже
and the
предлагать те или
security
иные
officer
решения.
should
Вот,
be in
наверное,
the
две
analytics of
истории
all
я
these
сказал.
processes. So two stories, so two qualities, right? And the third
Третье, нужно
one,
быть командным игроком, потому что
and to be a team
безопасник, именно
player,
мы сейчас говорим вот
because
там о ЦИСа, да, глобально,
when
он
we're
еще, он же
talking
топ
about
среднего звена,
the
и топ среднего звена как
near
раз
the
строит уже
top of
команду,
the
он
middle
строит
management,
команду,
and
не
they
я как
build
руководитель
the
строю,
team.
я
It's not me who's
строю
building the
среднее
team.
звено
I
топов, а дальше,
build
соответственно, вот это команда
the
образования,
middle
вот это
management
качество максимально должно
team,
быть
and
у
then
ЦИСа быть.
they
Вот, три
build their
качества
own
назвал.
team.
Спасибо.
So the three qualities, that's what I named. So team builder, yep.
Ну, знаете, я еще к предыдущему хотел сказать, что кто боится докладывать, мне вот интересно. Ведь
Who is
если
afraid of
случился серьезный
reporting to the
инцидент,
management? So if a serious
не знаю,
incident
там,
happened,
ну, мы у всех отключились удаленные пользователи, но об
for
этом знают
example,
так
all
все.
the remote
Кому
users
докладывать?
were
Поверьте, доложат именно те, у кого
switched
эта
off,
проблема случилась, а не я,
to whom you're
который
going to
сам уже
report to.
отключил. Поэтому,
So it's not
мне
me who
кажется,
turned them
такой
off who is
вопрос
going to
риторический у нас
report to the
не
management. I
должно
think
быть
kind of
вообще
rhetorical
такого.
question, so it's not supposed
Мелкие
to be like
инциденты
that.
никто не видит, и это наша с вами задача,
Small
да, они
incidents
должны
are not
происходить,
visible.
мы
This
должны
is our
купировать,
task. So they happen,
мы
we
должны дальше работать. А крупные
tackle
инциденты,
them, and this is how the organization is
пусть
supposed
звонят
to
мне там или кому-то, и я
work.
могу дальше доложить причину.
So,
Мне кажется, все-таки
but if
вопрос здесь
something
еще в
bigger
кадрах,
happens, so they call me and
кто
I
как это
will
воспринимает и как
respond to it.
руководитель
So, and also
это
there is a
воспринимает.
issue, there is a
Потому что
matter
если,
of
ну,
working
допустим, я
with
могу
the
прийти
staff,
доложить своему
with the people.
вышестоящему руководству о том, что я такое решение принял, я это обосную, я
I
это
can
понимаю,
just
как это
come to the
обосновать.
management and
Но
say
здесь
what
про
decision I made
штрафы
and what
в
the
нашей
reasons for
организации
that
точно нет. По
were.
поводу
So in our
черт,
organization, there is no
которые
this
должен
fear.
иметь ИБшник, да.
So about the
Вы знаете,
qualities
наверное,
of security officer.
многие сидят в своих кабинетах или в open spaces за своими
I
компьютерами,
think that
планшетах,
many are sitting in their
и каждый, знаете,
offices, at their
закапывается в
computers,
какой-то своей, вот, я не знаю, там, функциональности,
and people kind of
кому-то
isolated in
должна
their
инструкция
own
по какой-то, и никто
functions or their
не
job description,
задумывается, наверное.
and nobody
Это
actually
совсем касается
thinks.
только ИБшников, а
And it has to
смысл
do not
вообще вот нас
only
всех.
with security officers, it concerns all of us.
Производственная компания.
As I said in the beginning, we are a manufacturing company.
Александр Сергеевич, вы знаете,
And when people come to me and say, Alexander, we need to get this as soon as possible because our headquarters have 640 people, and I said, so what's happening at the station? What station? I don't know what's happening in the station. And asking them, do you understand that 440 people may be left without reception, connection, and all that? So you have this hole in the station. Yes, there is. So what I'm saying is that all of us need to understand where we are, what organization we work for, and what is the main risk for us, is for us. The risk is the stoppage of the station and no transmission of electricity. So all those applications and zones of our servers, actually, I don't care about this stuff. But what happens there at the station? And if everybody at their job position will understand what they're doing, so then what others do, it's going to be good. People come from colleges, they come to us to work. So recently we had this people from the tax authorities, but people with a great experience, but they don't understand that they came to organization with the manufacturing cycle. The main thing is not security. The main thing is to see the purpose of the work. It's not only the job description that they need to follow and how many incidents they have. Let me continue with this. I wanted to say a similar thing. I just wanted to put it in two short statements. Let me step back a little bit. The idea is there are soft and hard skills. And when we talk about like professional skills and stuff, knowing technology, I'm not going to even touch on this one, because sadly, the security specialty is not going that far to understand what's going on technically. So, but talking about the human qualities, I try to formulate it myself, and I have two terms. There's cynicism and empathy. On the one hand, they have to be able to get into the shoes of the management, understanding the goals of the company, what shareholders of the company wants. They want dividends, and we forget about it, right? So for them, it's security that everything would be working. No, they want to get dividends. This is what they want. All the rest is just secondary. And cynicism, this is to be able to tolerate stress. So, don't pressure me. I can do whatever is needed. And I shouldn't be afraid of telling the management that there is a vulnerability in the company. So yes, it happens. I know how to respond to it. And cynicism is here like this. You can say to the manager, kind of stop. Don't panic, so we work as it should be. They kind of wave at me that we're supposed to wrap up. I would probably put a full stop here, but and you know why? My friend told me that in their bank, when they launch a new initiative for the first two meetings, they don't bring security officers and lawyers, because those two don't let anything start. I remember that at some point at the beginning of 2000s, a typical IT director was a guy with a sweater, kind of stinky, working with the wires and stuff. But when the SAPs came, then we have this type of person with a bow tie. I saw the statistics that in the world, CIO, 60% of them changed. Different type of people came. And I think that cybersecurity over the next 4 years, people will change. There will be different people who come in this profession. And I have no doubt about it. And I hope that our discussion was quite useful for you. Let me apologize for what I said. Yes, companies are different, from different industries and of different maturity. People have different policies. And going on with the story about the future, yes, managing expectations. This is one of the key skills of the person who is responsible for security. And it's a matter of terms and the level of tolerance to the risks. So these are the things that they need to work out with the shareholders and with the CEO. So what are non-tolerable events are, so you need to formulate it yourself and to talk to your CEO about it. So it's not about technical tasks, it's about business tasks, really. So to look at it from the business point of view. Thank you very much.